Just got to make sure my friends over on LinkedIn can see us, but we are here to talk about Confluence for project managers. Throughout this, we're going to be using some actual Confluence instances. We'll talk about a lot of theory, but also share a lot of practice, things that I do to be successful using Confluence to help manage projects. So definitely bring your questions. Let me know what questions or concerns you have. And we'll mostly be using the YouTube and Confluence chat to make that happen. Yes, I would like to start the stream. Oh, just a minute while I get LinkedIn dialed in. And I think that should do it. All right, folks, I'll give you a couple more minutes to trickle on in before we get started with Confluence for project managers. Okie dokie. We are going to get started, folks. Let's drop a quick welcome message in here. All right, got about 30 folks. This is brilliant. If you could give me a quick thumbs up in the chat just that you can hear me. I'm always paranoid. Usually it's my audio decides to go sideways. That would be wonderful. And away we go. Welcome from Vancouver. Spent a lot of time there as a kid. Brilliant. Carther, always good to see you, my friend. All right, so first way of introduction. My name is Rob. I've spent my career in information technology, mostly in project management. I started off as the IT help desk guy, and that quickly turned into project management work. I got very, very fortunate in that the director of IT at my company asked if I wanted to join a project, and this was wonderful. Audio's a little low. Let me turn that up a little. All right, please let me know if that's better. Today is going to be a mime edition. Oh no. I'm trying to turn up my gain on this, and I don't want to make it too loud. Is this any better? So I quickly moved from IT service desk, like the help desk worker, to a project management role. In that role, I knew nothing about project management, no training other than an interest. And I also didn't have any background in the systems that I was supposed to help implement. Thank you all for letting me know. Chirag, I hope I'm saying that right. I appreciate that. Hector, welcome from Monterey. Since then, I've been using Atlassian products since about 2013, and one of the craziest things I've done on a project is use the sneaker net. I drove a hard disk across state lines to solve or to help. I'm trying to turn up my gain on this, and I don't want to make it too loud. Is this any better? Sound like? There we go. Cool. I'm going to drop a quick question in the chat. What's the craziest thing you've done to finish a project? So just a question to think about. Yes, Rovo Tolivier, I hope I'm saying that right. This will be recorded. It will live both on LinkedIn and on my YouTube channel. So if you're watching on YouTube, it's going to live right here. If you have to drop off, the recording will exist. So please don't worry if you have to leave or if you have team members who want to follow along. Now, this is YouTube and LinkedIn, which is great. However, it's hard to interact. I don't get the same interaction with folks. So please use the chat. Many of you have already found it. Please use the YouTube chat or the LinkedIn comments to communicate with me. I'll be keeping an eye on both. I also do this full time, though. I'm an instructor. I'm a content creator. And I'll ask that you help support me just by clicking the like button if you like the stream. This is the easiest way to help me. I will talk about other ways to support me as we go, but push that little thumbs up if you find this useful or interesting. It helps other people find it. You can also save and share this recording with the save and share buttons. But again, you can always visit my YouTube channel at heen-tech to get access to this recording and many, many others. But please use the chat. I will also be dropping polls into the YouTube chat. Things like, Have you attended a session for me before? So this poll is just one way we can interact. Okay, our agenda. This is a 90-minute session, and I kind of broke it in half. I did this to give us a little break in the middle, and I realized this was originally an hour, not enough time. In the first half, we'll cover foundational basic knowledge around Confluence. And I do this to make sure that by the end of this, you are all confident in exploring the system, and you are all confident in looking up more information for help. We won't get to absolutely every possible way to use Confluence, so it's really important that we know what a space is, or what the space admin does, or what templates exist. The second half, we'll dig more into content types, collaborating, and advanced features. And I'll go back and forth between slides and popping into Confluence Cloud Premium to demonstrate this. Sarah, good to see you, my friend. Sarah is one of my sponsors, my members of the channel, so one great way to support me. The link in the bottom left is one way you can learn more about that. Mark learned to solder. Amazing. So you could re-engineer hardware. I love that. Kythra, craziest thing for a project. Didn't sleep. Oh no. I wonder how many of us have done this. But just a reminder that as project managers, like our job is to make sure the project gets done. And sometimes we have to do crazy things like learn a new skill. I will be using a scenario as we go through. And I use this scenario just to make it a little more real world. But we're going to take on the persona of a project manager with Project JQL. We've been given access to Confluence, but it hasn't been set up. So we've got all the stuff on the Jira side. We have our team, all that set. We've just been told you have to use Confluence. And this is my experience with Confluence. I was just told that's the knowledge base. That was all my training. So we have some things we're going to accomplish together. We're going to make our own space in Confluence to host our information. We're going to build out a structure to help structure all of our content and information. We're going to make templates to help the team, brainstorm, add content, etc. So we're going to use this just as a way to explore Confluence and how it can help us as project managers. I expect and hope that folks will put in specific questions or areas you want to learn and explore. So please use the chat. Please interrupt me. Please put in your ideas in the comments or chat. I'm going to replace this particular poll. The slide is before I started using polls, but it looks like more than half of you are new to learning with me, so welcome. This question is just going to be, how familiar are you with Confluence? And I apologize, I have to type these out as I go. And I can do 4 options. So not at all, you use it all the time, kind of, and some other option. Now, don't worry, I won't assume we're all Confluence experts. I'll make sure we have the basics before we dig into the more complex stuff. Confluence is just a virtual space to organize information. I first thought of it as a knowledge base. It's now, I think of it more of a collaboration platform. It's not just somewhere I go as a PM to put information. It's somewhere I go as a team member to work with other people and build and develop. Do I still use it as a knowledge base? Yes. Do I also use it as a place where we can go in together and work on something? Also, yes. There's no real wrong way to use it. What is important is that we are consistent in how we use it as project managers. We might have to conform to how our team uses it. We might have to just make up our own way. And Riva Toliver, if I'm saying that right, uses it all the time, but it's mostly static content. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it is that knowledge base. It's the place you go every once in a while to look for something. So there's no wrong way. I'm not going to tell you like, ooh, that's a bad way to use it. I will encourage teams, though, to go in and start to become more active in how we share information. And one thing to really consider is, where does that information go? I think of Confluence like a library, a beautiful building with stuff inside it. Within that library, though, we need additional organization. And this is somewhere I see teams struggle, especially project managers. They don't know where to put their great content. An engineer builds a system diagram. They don't know where it should go. So within that idea of a library, we have a room, a space, and it's just a way to organize content. The space could organize content. Kythra, welcome, my friend. You've been here for a while. I've always thought of you as a member. I really appreciate your support. Thank you so much, my friend. Spaces are just this way to organize, and there's multiple ways to use a space. It can be confusing. You may have a space for your human resources team and a separate space for engineering and a separate space for human resources projects. For project managers, I tend to make a new space for each project. So if I'm working on 3 projects, I may have 3 different spaces that I can go into and I can add information to or change things or adjust things. Spaces give me some control over things like permissions. So maybe different project teams shouldn't see each other's work. It gives me other features as well. Maybe some teams need to use whiteboards and some don't. So typically as a project manager, I want 1 space per project if it's a little bit larger project. If my projects are very, very small, I may just have a section of a space in the hierarchy, and I'll explain this and demonstrate this as we go. There's really no wrong way to organize spaces. Again, we as project managers just want to be consistent. We want to make sure when our teams come into them or other people look at them, we know what they're for. And I can see, oh wow, about half of us use Confluence all the time. About 30% of us kind of, and some not at all. So depending on your background, you're going to have ideas. I'll encourage the folks who use it all the time, jump into chat, help people answer questions, challenge me on things, help me learn. And for the folks who haven't used it at all, let me know what you're curious about. Now, I mentioned this content hierarchy. Within the space, we can further organize content. Think of this like shelves in a library's room. This content hierarchy is really important, especially for project managers. It is our visual way of organizing things. So in this example, this is not organized at all. I am awful at maintaining these. So what I would do as a project manager is come in here and reorganize this. So I'll make sure all my design documents are under a page called Design. All of my database information is under Databases. This is really important because when my team members come in here, they should be able to quickly find what they need. Oh, it's under Databases. There it is. If this isn't organized, it will frustrate our team. And we want Confluence to be the place people go just to get information, not to get frustrated. Mark read a book from O'Reilly, Information Architecture. I assume that's the IA. Information architecture is something I know exists, and it's something I probably borrow ideas from, like you're saying, but it is a whole discipline in how do we structure things. I'll be stealing some ideas from it. I'm glad it's similar to what the O'Reilly book says. O'Reilly is a company that makes a lot of technical books. And Margot is reading my mind and has a great question about things called folders. I will demonstrate these when we go live, Margot, because they do show up in our hierarchy. Here I can see pages. I can see a thing called a whiteboard that we'll explore together. And I see this, which is a folder. So it's another way to organize. Short answer, yes, I do use them. Now, there's different types of content we can put in. And as a project manager, it's up to us to figure out what's the most appropriate type. Honestly, most of the time, it's going to be a page or a live doc. A page is what most people think of when they think of content in Confluence. It's like a Word doc or a Google doc where there's maybe images or maybe video and text that's formatted and displayed in a certain way. A live doc is very similar. It is instantly published. So if you're all collaborating together, you can just type. A page, on the other hand, is effectively hidden until you hit publish. Folders aren't on here, but since it's in the chat, Kythra, drop your thoughts about folders, please. Don't wait for me. This is for the group to learn, right? I don't want to hold back knowledge. We also get whiteboards, though. Now, these only exist in Confluence Cloud, so you might be on Confluence Data Center. Most of the concepts will be the same. I will do my best to call out differences. And there are some limitations for whiteboards if you're on the free or standard plans. It's 3 whiteboards per person on free and 10 per person on standard. But this is how you visually collaborate. Think of Visio, think of Lucidchart, think of Draw.io, but built into Confluence. Next, we have databases, which let us structure data. I use databases to build lightweight project plans. So if I don't need a whole Jira project with all the settings and confusion there, I might just have a database. This has replaced a lot of my use of Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel because it lives in Confluence. And that is the major advantage of whiteboards and databases. As a project manager, I am used to having to get my own license for Lucidchart and a different license for something else, and then copy and paste images. Instead, I'm just going to focus on getting it in Confluence. And because it's in there, it ensures that all of my team can see it, and it ensures that it's in context. So I'll talk more about that as we go, but it's all going to be in the same spot. As folks are going, I will give a shout out to my Discord community. This is a free chat platform I use to continue discussions on things. So if I'm unable to dig too much into databases or Rovo or whatever, I'll encourage you to join us in Discord. There's about 300 folks in there chatting and just talking. Rohit, another one of my members, welcome, my friend. Good to see you. Last, we have blogs. Blogs I use for point-in-time updates. For example, my weekly product updates or my weekly updates to the team would be a blog post because it's useful as of the date it's published, and then it gets older and older and older. And then smart links let us integrate content from other systems. I will talk more about each of these content types, but as long as we understand the general use case, that's going to be very helpful as we make selections or as we need to go look up help. All right, I'm going to drop a new poll and have a quick sip of coffee. Most of us are fairly familiar with Confluence, which is amazing. And just another poll about how we structure our data. And I'll give a couple answers like, I don't. So just a couple of options, things like I don't structure it at all, I structure it by team or by phase. And I'll see if there's any questions in here. Riva, I'll just abbreviate your name for now, loves databases. Yes, I wish they could do calculations. Sparta's asking about Rovo, which I actually need to talk about. Rovo is Atlassian's AI tool. Once we get hands-on, I'll demonstrate this. It can create pages. It cannot update an existing one in the middle. Can you build charts based on data in a database? I don't think so, Riva. That's an awesome question. I will put that in my follow-up to go hunt down. All right, moving forward. So now that we know the content, we need to think about our structure. For me as a PM, this is really important because, again, when someone new jumps in to look at it, they're going to use the structure to explore content. When I have something new I want to add, I'm going to go into the structure and put it in the most appropriate spot. So if I have a less than ideal structure, it's going to impact my project. It's also important because in 6 months, when there's a new project, and I go back to review what have I learned, wrong way, it's going to be hard if the structure is confusing, if it's hard to use, if I can't keep up on it. So how I structure my information in Confluence is really important. The first is by the space. And again, I typically have one space per project I work on, unless it's smaller, and then I use the hierarchy. The space gives us more control. We might need an admin to help us. Within the hierarchy, it's embedded with other content, other similar projects, but we get less control, but it's simpler to set up. I can just go add a new structure on my own. Now, there is this concept within the hierarchy of child or children content. This is content under content. You'll hear me use the term pages when I mean to say content. I'm trying to break that habit. But in this example, I have a page called meeting notes, and under that, there's other pages that are other meeting notes. So we might see this organization with meeting notes, with project updates, with diagrams, with anything else. This improves browsing, This improves browsing because I can come in here and just look at meeting notes and see all the meeting notes for the project. Now, there is no upper limit to the number of layers we can have. I had someone in Discord try this and they added 100 levels and nothing happened. It didn't break anything. General guidance, though, is don't go any more than 4 layers deep. Because if you go more than 4 deep, it's hard for someone to browse it. But mainly this is for my visual organization. It does impact some other features in Confluence, though, but mostly around organizing content. So I've mentioned this structure a bit. We're going to get hands-on and plan a structure. We're going to use a Confluence whiteboard, and you are all going to help me. I'll explain how you're going to help me in a minute. Some of you may have done this with me before. A little bit of planning, though, goes a super long way. As in any project, we know most of the work should be planning. It's like an iceberg. You see the work, but the planning is the 90% underneath. Taking 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a week, depending on the project, to go in and map out how we want our information to be structured will directly impact how usable that information is as we go. So this will guide at new content as it's being created and makes it easier for folks to find things. So we're going to jump into Confluence. We're going to make our own space for our project, And we're going to plan out our structure. And we're going to do this together in a collaborative way. Can I make my... I'm sorry, that was my phone ringing. Let me turn off the ringer. Can I make the... I can make it a little bigger, sure. Let me quickly... Thank you for letting me know about that. And let me... A little bit larger. There we go. So I have now just switched into Confluence Cloud Premium. So again, this will have most of the AI features. We can see this giant Rovo thing up at the top. It's going to have some things that Data Center doesn't have. But for our purposes, we need to go make a space. Most of the time, we as project managers might not be able to do this. So we'll have to go to IT or talk to an admin. So usually I have to put in an IT ticket. It is very advantageous for you as a project manager to go figure out who controls Atlassian products at your organization, because you'll just be able to send them a quick Slack message and get help, or your ticket will get prioritized. So I'm looking for this create button that has space. And if you don't see this, no worries. You might just have to ask for help from IT. Now it's going to just take us through this flow. We'll have to give it a space, or a space name. And I don't have a good space name, so I'm going to take a quick sip of coffee. If folks have a good name for our project, please drop it in the chat. Otherwise, I'll just have to make up something that might not be as fun as I hope. Riva, if you need to drop, no worries. The recording will record chat, so you'll see chat messages as it goes. Also, if you jump in and join the Discord community, that's another great way to get help. I'll just call this collaboration because that's the first word I saw. Collaboration. Thank you, Kythra. Collaboration. I'll need to give it some kind of icon. I always recommend folks pick one that makes the most sense. That little bit of look and feel really helps. It helps the team engage a bit more, even though it seems silly. Now, the purpose of the space is important. However, we can change all of this. So for now, I'll just leave it in collaboration. What these do is just preset some of the settings for us. I'll explain more of these settings as we go, but we can always change them. The settings can be important. The default settings are what my organization has selected. However, if I have the same project team and I'm using one space per project, I might copy permissions from another space. So when I talk to my IT team, I'll let them know I need a new space and I need this group of people to have access. I could just tell them, hey, go copy some other space. Go copy everyone in human resources because they're all on my team. I want them. And then I'll just click next. These are most of the settings that I can control. It's mostly turning on or off certain content types. I won't dig too deep into that here, just because we can quickly change it. I'll turn on blogs just so we see them. While that's loading, Kyther's got a great point. There's a website called Emojipedia for icons and emojis and things. I'm starting to use them more visually in my project communication and in my documentation. It helps things pop out and stand out, and it helps people find things. So now I have my space. This is my space, and we can see right away that the structure is very flat and it's filled with templated stuff. So we now need to design a space. What I'm going to do is do this in Confluence, and this is a project document I create, and I actually keep as part of the project. I'm just going to make a new whiteboard, and I'm going to do something and expose this to the public. So one option we have in our project documentation is public access. Now, your organization may have turned this off. So depending on where you work, you may not be able to do this. However, for this demonstration, I'm going to turn on sharing. And so now everyone with the link that's in the chat can go in and help me build our structure. Now, what we'll see as people pop in are their little icons. I've got Anonymous Corn, who just flew away. You're showing up as anonymous because you aren't part of my organization. If I were working with you, I would see your little icon if you were on my team. But now I'll just start building out. I've got the top, so this will be my project homepage. And I'm going to use these shapes to visually differentiate what do I want. And we can see there's a ton of different shapes. This is one use case of a whiteboard. I've also used it for retrospectives. I've used it for sprint planning. I've used it for brainstorming. I've used it for system diagrams. I've used it for mapping out a Confluence space. But we can see this is similar to, there's a racing helmet. Where did that come from? Whoa. Thank you, Kaithra. And the nice thing about Atlassian products that are cloud-based, they're constantly being improved. There will be features that we discover today that are brand new. Many of these shapes are in the past week. So it might be frustrating, there might be something's missing, but over time they are getting better and better. So I might have a meet the team page. I might have a, I don't know, system diagrams. I use that a lot. Diagrams. I might have one on team policies. And I would take 10 or 15 minutes with a team just to plan out what do I want the structure, because the structure is where everything goes. It's very important because it's guiding people towards content. And if it is not configured well, it's very hard for teams to find things. And as you can see, this is one way we can collaborate. I don't know where most of you are in the world, and that's fine. Confluence gives me the platform as a PM to do that. So again, imagine your distributed software team is working in here. That's great. You just pop them a link and off they go. So this is our space plan. I'll leave the whiteboard open for the rest of this and then I'll close it if folks want to go in and tinker around. Oh, and there's some, I'm liking all the new images I'm seeing. I have a specific training coming up next week about knowing your content for whiteboards. I'll dig in a lot more about how these work. So be on the lookout for that on the YouTube channel or where you signed up. So now we have a basic structure. I'm going to go start building that. We had a question about folders. Now, in my hierarchy, I will likely have content that logically belongs under other content. For example, I might have a lot of system diagrams. One thing I could do is make a page and call it system diagrams. However, that page doesn't have any useful information. Its only purpose is to sit there and organize. So instead, I'll just make a folder. Oop, I gotta zoom in properly. There we go. Now the folder itself doesn't have any content. All it does is give me a place to put other pieces of information. For example, I might put meeting notes under there. And now we can see it's stacked and I can hide it. So folders are a great way to visually organize things. I like them because without this, I just have to have a page that has a list of links, which to me is a waste of space. So I like using these folders. I forget specifically who asked. Sometimes I do use a page though if I need more context. For example, my team policies, I might want a page because I have to explain what those policies are. So I might just click add a page. I'll give it some name, and then I'll give, like background, policies guide, how we work. And then I would create this content to guide people to other things. So this is what I consider when I build out the structure of my Confluence setup, because I want to make sure when any one of you, my team, comes here, they can quickly and easily find the most appropriate stuff. All right, quick coffee break. I'm going to pop back into my slides. I'm going to put up a new poll and a quick reminder to folks, hit the like button if you're liking this content. And also I have a link, a QR code directly under my head that goes to a full-length learning course around Confluence. It's not specifically for project managers, but it'll give you everything you need to be successful around using Confluence. Content types, space administration, a whole bunch of other things. So I'll put that in the chat as well after I get this question up. A quick question around templates. And this will come up when we go back into, when we pop back into Confluence. But when I think of creating content, it's really hard sometimes when you get a blank page. We call it a writer's block. It's impossible to get started. Templates are just pre-built structures on a page. These are important for me as a project manager because I don't want to spend my time copying and pasting. I don't want to spend my time creating the same thing over and over. And I also don't want my team having to do that. I want my team focused on doing the work, not on adding columns or adding links, those kind of things. Confluence comes with 140 templates out of the box. You don't have to do anything. They're just there. The important thing we need to remember is they're unique per space. So every template I have, with one exception, is going to be unique in the space I'm in. This means, I don't know if anyone else can hear that foghorn, but I don't know what's going on here. I apologize if you hear a loud tooting sound. This means each of our projects can have its own templates that are unique to them. Now, it's possible there are templates we want everyone to have, and we can work with our site admin to make that global. But most of the time, I'm making a template for each team. Now, we find them in two spots. There's a templates menu where we can go explore them. And when we make a page, we can browse through templates. This is something I show my team, and I make sure they understand these templates are the ones we tend to use, but I also make sure they know how to explore them, because there's a lot of great templates that exist, and empowering the team to go through and look at these things will help them be better, faster, stronger. And Kythra's call out right here, templates when they're created live in a single space. However, they can be made global, visible everywhere. So if you as a project manager are finding templates that you use a lot, you might have to work with IT to add that to every project. Now we can customize them as well. This is something I didn't realize for a while. I would take an existing template and modify it slightly, but as a project manager, if you're identifying templates that you want or you want to change existing ones, you can. You have to be a space admin to do this, which you probably will be and will see in this demo, but this allows you to tailor the template. Please make time to tailor your templates. One thing I do is I just watch my team as they create content, and it gives me a good idea of how I can change the template. I catch people all the time, deleting sections every time they make a page. I just remove it from the template so they don't have to spend the time doing it. So we're going to jump in and look at templates. We're going to find them, we're going to modify them, we're going to make new ones. But by the end of this, we'll just understand what templates are and how we as project managers can benefit from them. And I went the wrong way again. So back on our team policies page, we can see I started with this. And let's pretend that this is the perfect page. It's not. I'm just going to publish it. Once I've published the page, now other people can see it. If you don't publish the page, it stays in its draft state, and only you and the super admins, the site admins, can see it. Genius Gecko templates are one of the most useful things that I've tripped over in Confluence, and it's one of the things that most people struggle with. How do I go from a blank page to useful things? So here, I'm just going to make a new page. I'm going to make it by clicking on this plus in my content hierarchy, and that will make the new page directly under the page that I'm on. And so this is how I like to make content. At the bottom, there's this little pop-up, and it's giving me a few templates, and we can see them kind of showing up. So it's giving me a preview. I can also just click on all templates, or I can go up into the top, these three dots, and go to templates and import. While I'm in here, you can import existing documentation. The formatting might break a little, but if you have a really useful Word doc or Google Doc, you can import it into Confluence as a page. You don't have to just copy and paste. However, going back to our templates, I can see I'm looking for templates in this space, and I have 143 available. I'll encourage you to take time when you have a minute to scroll through and look at these. As you mouse over them, you'll see what they look like. But really what you should look at is this search. You can just type in, I'll just type in policy and see what, well, nothing. Okay, fine. I'll type in project. And now only 49 are shown. So this is just looking at keywords on the template. But these are all the ones that might relate to projects, a calendar, a capacity planner. There's a lot of really good, useful templates in here. They can also serve as a great starting point. So for this example, I'll just use the business status update. And as soon as I click on it, it's just going to load in and populate the page. This is why they're so useful. It makes it easy for me as an editor. It also makes it easy for content consumers because they will know where to go to find everything. So they'll get used to seeing policies as all looking the same, or get used to, updates all looking the same. So they know they can skip or find certain things. If I want to use a different template, I can. I can just go back up to templates. Keep in mind this will delete and overwrite everything on the page. So I'll have the option of making a new page, but if I just click confirm, it's going to delete everything I've done. So that's how to use templates. This is a great start. Please show your team how to use templates just to speed them up. More importantly, though, learning and understanding how to manage templates is important. We need to be a space admin to do this. So the way you know you're a space admin, if you go to the project and go into space settings, you'll have like space tools right here. If you don't know who your space admin is, you can still go into space settings and you're going to look for this space admin section. So all of these people can help me modify templates. Hopefully as a project manager, I am one of these people, so I have this access. But if I ever don't know, this is where to go. This is something else to show your team, just so they know if they're in a different space how to get help. So to find my templates, I'm just going to type in template in my little search bar over here. Whoops. And this is where I have a list of all 149 templates in the space. Now, the specific term is a blueprint. So the templates that come with Confluence are called blueprints. They're provided by Atlassian or partners. And you can actually turn them off. If you take this little rocker, they disappear. I don't recommend necessarily turning off every blueprint you don't need, but maybe you turn off some that will confuse your team. So if you disable these, they'll just disappear. What you can do, however, is click Edit. And this will let you come in and modify this blueprint, this template, so when it's used, it shows different things. And this is what's really powerful. As you identify templates your team is using, go in and tweak them. Change what they look like, go in and edit them. And editing a template is just like editing a page. I can come in and add new headers. Maybe I have, I pick on the term background information quite a bit at the top, but I can select this text and make it big. I can do things like add in files, images, etc. I can link things using elements. And I'll talk more about this as we go, but I can insert Jira work items, for example, or a Jira search, a list of work items. I can add hyperlinks to useful content. So I'll take time when I first get the project to go in and update and improve our templates. And as soon as I hit save, this template is now available to everyone. Now keep in mind, we can see here I now have an edited one in the original. This edit only lives in this space. So if I have another project that would benefit from this, I'll have to work with my site admin, and this might be your information technology team, to make it a global template available to everyone everywhere. Rodney, my friend, welcome. Quick introduction to Rodney and a shout out. He's known as the Jira guy. That's his moniker. He's been using Jira for many, many years. I'm always thankful when he joins because he's an amazing source of knowledge. Definitely worth checking him out, the Jira guy, I think on LinkedIn. The joke he's making here, I used to do these at 6 a.m. my time because I had a 9-to-5 job. And then I quit that 9-to-5 job to become an instructor, and now I do them a bit later, so I'm awake and more fully conscious to help you all. So these are our templates. Again, really important that we take a moment to go update them. I typically will take a look at templates when I first make the space, just to make sure that they're there. And then on a regular basis, maybe every major project milestone, I'll go in and just ask the team, hey, how do you find the templates? Are you using them effectively? What challenges or questions you have? All right, team. Quick coffee break for Rob. A quick push the like button for everyone else if you haven't, but also curious your questions on templates, creating content, etc. Now, asking because we're nearing our halftime mark where we'll take a quick 5-minute break, get up and stretch our legs, and then get back into it with content and different types of things we can do in Confluence. I'm also going to go back to our whiteboard and just see what damage we have all done to it. If you ever get lost in a whiteboard, in the bottom right, you can click on this 100% and zoom to fit. We'll force everything to fit on your screen. Ooh, wow, we've got a mind map. All right, we've got a koala. The Atlassian Williams Racing Team, brilliant. Sarah's saying they create their own templates for process documentation and auditing. Yes, a great use case for it. I've done a lot of work with auditors of various types, so having an identical template I can use and just quickly spin up to satisfy their needs and demands is helpful. All right, folks, going to pop back to our slides. We're going to take our 5-minute break a little bit early. I realize there's a ton of QR codes on here. I really got to do a better job of that. But a quick shout out to my Discord group. This is live chat with about 300 folks about Atlassian, so please feel free to join us there. I'm in there posting updates and tips and tricks and things. And if you're considering supporting the channel, please check out either the QR code in the middle, that's to become a member, and thank you, Kyther, for joining me, or please check out my learning platform. I have a lot of learning courses around Atlassian, things like the ACA 900, stuff about Rovo. Specifically, the QR code in the bottom right goes to an everything you need to know about Confluence course, which is this one right here. So please check out the learning site, lots of great stuff. If you're looking at getting certified as well, some of these include exam vouchers. And Sarah, I really like this use of templates. Interviewing is part of management training. All right, folks, I'm going to step away for just a minute. I will be right back with a fresh cup of coffee. But please take a minute to stretch, write down the questions you have or drop them in chat, and we will get started in about 3 minutes. Let's see if I can turn on my little timer. I always forget where this thing lives. There we go. I'll give us a 3-minute break. All right, I will be right back. All right, another 45 seconds. No questions yet. All right. I hope that means I'm explaining everything well, but please, please, please let me know what specific questions you all have. I will stop that timer before it rings or does whatever it's supposed to do. Rodney, my friend, I would love if you ask questions. I assume I will get smarter, and the other 60 people learning with us will also get smarter. So please, my friend, pick away. All right, back to our agenda, folks. We have gone through the kind of the foundational things. Again, our goal is not to know everything there is to know about Confluence right now. Our goal is to make sure that we have enough knowledge so when we need help, when we are struggling, when we are talking to other people, we have enough understanding of what to ask for or what to go do. So we're going to continue this by digging into types of content. We've spoken about some of these already, but then dig into collaboration and other features that we as project managers are likely going to be interested with or want to dig into. But please, again, drop in the chat or the comments if you want specific things. All right, and most of us think this is great. Some of us think it's awesome, and it's okay. If there are ways I can improve this, please let me know. Feel free to DM me on LinkedIn if you prefer, or drop it in here. Another quick poll, and think of this like a quiz. I'm going to put 4 options up, and one of them is not an actual content type. Ooh, I got to remember all the content types now. Uh-oh. Just to see if we've all been paying attention. How many content types can you name? So which one of these is not a content type in Confluence? So a bit of a tip-off giveaway here. There's a basic content type, that page. Now this is what I as a project manager use a lot, because the page is where we put text, put graphics, put other similar information. The page is also what most of us are familiar with if we've used Data Center, because it was the only content type. There's a similar one called a blog that I'll talk about in a bit, but the page is what I use most of the time, and that's where we find all those templates. That's where we find the elements or macros where we can tie in Jira information, etc. The thing to know about a page is until you publish it, it's invisible. A live doc, however, is instantly published and live. You might use this for like a sprint retrospective or anywhere you're brainstorming or working together, so other people can just come in and instantly start editing. Personally, I haven't used live docs too much. It's a relatively new feature, just as a heads up. So I'm still exploring ways to use it, and if folks have any really good use cases for a live doc, let me back up. I'd absolutely love to hear, just so I can understand more about how people use them. Next, we have the database and whiteboard. We've already done the whiteboard together, that collaborative visual stuff. And again, examples I have are a systems diagram. I work a lot with engineering teams, so mapping out how things integrate. I use it a lot for brainstorming. I use it a lot for sprint planning, because you can click and drag. And I'll show you how you can actually integrate Jira work items directly onto the whiteboard. You'll be able to manipulate them and move them around. For example, putting all the ones assigned to Rob in a certain area, or planning out new ones and then making Jira work items directly from the whiteboard. Databases give us a way to structure data. I think of them as somewhere between a spreadsheet and a Jira project, because I can have columns of information and different types of information. There might be tags or statuses or dates, and I can even relate databases to each other. I won't dig too much into that here. I'll do an upcoming live training on how that works, but imagine you're building a project planner and you have one database of all your team information, including contact information, specialties, etc. You link that to the tasks in the other database for the project, and then you instantly see what skills someone has. So this gives us a little bit more sophistication within Confluence. As someone pointed out in chat, there are some limitations. It can't do math very well, so it is not replacing something like Excel or Google Sheets. It is supplementing our tool set. So it does have specific things it's good at and some things it's still improving on. I mentioned blogs. I like blogs. A lot of people have kind of a, not a love-hate, but more of a, hey, I don't use this at all. But I use blogs for point-in-time information. We have a team event coming up, or we had an offsite, and here's the plan. I use it for things that in maybe 3 months, it's going to be, I know it will be stale because it relates to today. They are displayed chronologically, and so that's one advantage. You see in this screenshot, all the blogs from 2025 are here, 2024 would be under that, etc., and then by date or month. So it's another way to organize content. Smart links are relatively new, but they allow us to not structure data in reference databases. Smart links allow us to tie in other systems in a way that's a little bit more native than just putting the link on a page. I'll show an example of this, but it allows us to embed other information from outside of Confluence directly into the content hierarchy. So again, as a project manager, I want my team to open up the space and everything they need is right there. They don't have to go into email and find a link and go to some other system. It all just exists in one spot that they can go find and access it. Now, typically, I like Confluence to be open. I want as many people as possible to be able to come in and access and change and edit information. There are instances, however, where you're going to want to restrict content. And the specific term is restrict. Permissions are at the space level. So my permissions might allow Rodney to view, but not to create content. My permissions might prevent Sarah from seeing anything in the space. A restriction is on one piece of content. I don't want Rodney to edit this page, but he can edit other pages. I don't want Sarah to see this page or any page under it because they're sensitive. So restrictions are important because they allow us to tweak and finally control who can see what. Now it's all or nothing. It's the entire piece of content or none of it. I can't say only restrict this middle part, for example, but it does give me control over sensitive things. Restrictions are also one of the most frustrating things. You may have two team members sitting next to each other. One person sees the page, the other person doesn't. They get frustrated. Restrictions are the place to look because that might explain why one person sees it, the other doesn't. We have two kinds of restrictions. We can do a view restriction, and this inherits down. Oops, I don't have any click-throughs there. For example, if I put a view restriction on design that only allows me to see it but no one else, no one will see the pages under it, how to log in, example, and untitled. So this can also surprise people. I've had team members come to me and complain, why can't I see example post-mortem? I get, well, you restricted design, or there's a restriction there. So view restrictions inherit. That's the big thing to remember about view restrictions. Edit restrictions do not inherit down. For example, I might prevent Rodney from editing design, but that doesn't impact how to log in, postmortem, or untitled. So if you can edit the parent, you might be able to edit the children. And if you can edit the children, you might be able to edit the parent. It's by each piece of content. This, keep in mind though, if you cannot view the content, you cannot edit it. So if there's a view restriction on design that I can't see how to log in, I can't edit how to log in. You have to have view. A quick pause. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. I'm going to put in a quick poll. And I'll try to spell all the words right. A 4-point scale of very comfortable to not very to very confused to other. But I bring this up because restrictions are one of the most confusing and frustration-inducing aspects of the system because folks don't understand them. All right, we're going to pop into Confluence and actually restrict some things so we can see this in practice. For example, I have my systems diagrams. Excuse me. I may want to restrict systems diagrams for some reason. Maybe only my engineer should be able to edit or view. So I can click on these three dots and I'm looking for the share option. Now this is non-intuitive. It used to be a separate button, but I'm looking for this lock icon and I can change this lock to restricted. By default, it is open. So just keep in mind when you make content, unless you explicitly restrict it or it has something inherited, it's going to just be wide open. So I'm going to say they can edit, and maybe I say Mitch can view. So if I hit share, this is going to only allow specific people to view or edit. I don't want to notify Mitch, I'll just save. Oh, now I need to add him to the space. Confluence was nice and did that for me. But now if I go look at template, I didn't do anything to template, but if I look at it share, I'll see it has an inherited restriction. I can click on this, and it's just going to show me it's restricted by the parent. I can further restrict this though. So it'll pull down what the parent has, but I might add a further restriction. My systems engineers can see and edit all these, but for this one in particular, I only want Alana to edit because she's the expert in this technology. So we have different controls and different ways to restrict. When in doubt, go take a look at the pages. If you don't have access, you might have to work with your IT team to figure out what's going on. This is very common in inherited spaces, or if you're not the space admin, if you don't have full control over it. So just keep in mind some of these content will be restricted. It will be frustrating. The way out is to go find an app admin or an IT member for help. And in my very unofficial poll, oh wow, Uh, Half of us are very comfortable, but the other half, more than half, are either very confused, not comfortable, or other. If folks want to put in the chat, what is the most frustrating, confusing, annoying, challenging thing about restrictions? I'll see if I can answer those for you. All right. Collaboration. I mentioned earlier that Confluence is a collaboration platform. Or at least this is how I think about it. It's not just the place I go to put information and hope my team figures it out. That is certainly a use case. I'll call that a knowledge base. It's the more static place where official documentation goes that you then take out to look at. I'll encourage everyone to start thinking of it more of a living, breathing, collaborative space, though. And I say that because I might be a pretty smart person, but everyone else, the other 60 people listening, are even smarter. That's at least 60 times as smart. So I really want my whole team in here adding and pointing things out and helping and expanding. Now, depending on your organization, there might be different expectations. However, one of the simplest things we can do to collaborate is just comment on content. So Confluence supports @mentioning, something we might all be familiar with. Sarah, I'll get to that comment in a minute. But we just @mention someone's name, and this should send them a notification. I do this a lot, and I think it drives people insane because I'll find typos on pages, I'll have questions about things, but it draws attention to that topic or content. Depending on your environment, it might be a little bit stricter, a little bit more friendly, but commenting is a great way, and you can comment on specific text, find a specific word or phrase that's confusing. You can comment on a page, you can comment on a part of a whiteboard or a cell in a database. So please make sure your team is aware of this and that they're empowered to do it. There are permissions that can restrict the ability to comment. So just keep in mind, if someone's complaining, I don't see the button, they might not have that permission. And that's where you'll have to talk to the space admin for help. Going to quickly address Sarah's comment. It would help if they would quit changing the interface for how restrictions work. What Sarah's referring to, we have to click the share button to find restrictions now. It used to be its own separate icon. I am still remembering where it lives now, Sarah. I don't necessarily disagree. So we have comments. We also have notifications, and these are just updates from the system. I include these under collaboration because they let someone know something happened. You need information. Come check this out. I will also show you how to tweak your notifications, and please share this with your team, but by default, you will get some amount of notifications. You might not want that many notifications, so I'll show you how to control those. You can get them through email, and you can also get them through connected systems like Slack or Teams, depending on how things are set up. So be on the lookout for having a little bell icon pop up or getting an email. These can be frustrating and overwhelming. So again, I will show us how to change these settings, and very important for me as a PM to show my team, hey, here's how you can improve your notification settings so you don't get buried. This term, how much signal to noise. The signal is the good stuff. The noise is just overwhelming notifications. We want to help the team find that signal, the good stuff in communication. We briefly looked at sharing, and this is, I honestly don't use this feature very much because I just grab the hyperlink. I go up to the URL, I copy and I paste, just like I did with the whiteboard earlier. But there is an explicit button. This button is also where we restrict, and that's why Sarah is commenting, hey, it's kind of in a weird spot. But when we share, someone will get a notification, and we can optionally add a message. This can be really important. If I just give Sarah a link without any context, she might not look at it. She might not understand why it's useful. However, if I share Sarah a link and I say, hey, Sarah, this relates to the work you were doing earlier. Please check out this section. She'll go, oh, that's very helpful and useful. So I use this a lot as a project manager. It's another way I communicate. And again, most of our project management is communication. It's another way to give people information with the context they need to find it useful. So just giving someone a link is good. Giving it to them with the context, even better. So now getting more into what most people might consider collaboration, which is collaborative editing. We all did this in our whiteboard. We were all in one piece of content, all working on it together. That's amazing. We can also do this with pages. You can have 10 people go into a page and work on it all at once. We have live docs where the whole team can be working together on a retrospective or on a sprint plan. So I find this to be great for planning and brainstorming. The easiest way to do this on a live doc, you just share the URL And on a page, when you go into edit, you can share that as well. The person you're sharing it with has to have access to the space and the ability to edit and create content. But beyond that, they can come in and you'll see their little cursor. In this case, there's someone with the initial R. It's probably me. You can see where they're writing. Great way, especially with virtual teams. And again, I do this a lot in planning or in other things like retros, lessons learned, etc. Okay, popping back into Confluence real quick, just to show some of these. And slightly more than half of us are still not very comfortable with restrictions, which is totally okay. For those of you who are still working on that comfort, I'll encourage you to start engaging with them and to start playing around and tinkering with them in your instance. They are not available in the free instance, like if you have a free version of Confluence, but in standard, premium, and enterprise, you'll have them. So here we are back on our, I'll go back to our whiteboard actually, and show commenting here. So here I have our whiteboard. I can click on an object in here, and what I'm looking for is this little icon, add a comment, and I'll just click on it. This will attach a comment that will be then put on that object, in this case, the home page. We need a better name. And maybe I comment to myself as a reminder. Once I've commented, I can do things like resolve it, which will remove it. It's still saved, but it's not immediately visible. I can edit it, delete it if I have permissions, and then add a reaction. Yes, I do think we need to do that. Oh, and they pop up. It's kind of fun. Does it clap too? What else does it do? Fire? Huh. I learned something new. So you might see your team adding these reactions. I can also @mention somebody specifically. So I might @mention Rob, and I'll pick on myself. I don't believe Confluence sends you notifications for your own comments, but we'll see what happens. I might use this to draw their attention to it. Hey, this part of the diagram needs additional work. I don't understand what this means. And then once I'm done commenting, I'll just see my little head icon showing me where it is. On the right-hand side in the whiteboard, I can also see comments just by clicking on this button or pushing the M button on my keyboard. That same icon shows up on pages. I'll go to my meeting notes, and on a page, I can comment on the whole page down at the bottom. One thing I don't like about this is it's at the bottom. So if I have a comment, I don't immediately know there's a comment. I have to scroll and scroll and scroll. So this is something I let my team know about. I say, hey, just as a heads up, I might comment on your pages. It shows up at the bottom. One way you can find them on a page, you can show comments. And this will give you a nice little sidebar showing you what comments exist. This has helped me quite a bit, especially with bigger pages or with pages I'm not as familiar with. From here, I can also select text though, and they call these inline comments. I can comment on this specific text. We forgot to brainstorm. Or whatever it is. This is why I drive people nuts, because I do inline comments on their stuff, and then they end up with a page covered in inline comments. So keep in mind if you use comments, it's like any communication channel. As a project manager, I want to make sure my team is aware that I'll be using it and that they know how to find them and manipulate them. I don't have a database yet. Let me quickly just make one. Again, I won't dig too much into databases. Think of them like, again, like an advanced spreadsheet almost. There are templates to a database, which is good, and they're adding more of these, which is great. Maybe I have one for my meeting notes just to put something in here. But within the database, I can comment in the individual cells. So there's something wrong with project kickoff or whatever I need to add. So that's adding comments, and it's the way I collaborate the most. Now, I mentioned I would bring up, not Confluence administration, settings, and how do I control my notifications? Please show your teams this. Just click on your profile in the top right, and then look for personal settings. Kythra is saying that she uses comments. They're super valuable for inline and use them a lot. I use them for other people, but also for myself. Like, hey, Rob, remember blank. Just as a way for me to know what's going on. In here, I just need to find email. And then I'll get a whole lot of options. I'll need to click edit. But these settings are all defaulted. And this is what drives a lot of people nuts. You probably want to auto watch your own stuff. This will give you updates when it changes. But if you scroll down, you're automatically getting a weekly reminder, automatically getting recommended updates, automatically getting a daily digest, automatically getting recap emails, automatically getting, at mentioned, etc. This is set by default at the app level. So everyone when they first log in has the same settings, but individuals can change them. So if you don't like the recommended email, please go turn it off. Just a reminder that we can control these and we want to take time to tailor them so we don't go crazy with all the Confluence emails. Okay, quick coffee break for Rob and a quick question for other folks. Do you use Confluence for task tracking? And a quick reminder, if you like this, please hit the little thumbs up button, easiest way to support me. If you're looking for more Confluence content, check out the QR code at the bottom that goes to my full-length Confluence course. I think it's 5 hours of content. Or consider becoming a channel member. You get early access to videos, shout-outs, and when I meet you in person, hopefully one day, I'll buy you a cup of coffee so we can get to know each other a bit. Okay. Now, one aspect of one of the, I guess, more advanced features, one of the more non-obvious features of Confluence is task tracking. This is not replacing Jira. So when I think of, if I'm using Jira, which is the project management tool Confluent or Atlassian has, I use that for my planning. I use that for my sprints. I use that for my stories and my bugs and my tasks. However, sometimes there's just a small lightweight thing I want to remind myself of or assign somebody. I can do that in Confluence on a page. And we have a specific element or macro, it's called, just called the task. And I love how Mark is commenting. The tracker is frustrating. Its lack of syncing with Jira. So again, if we choose to use this, we have to remember that tasks in Confluence do not automatically create a Jira work item. And that's why I think through how do I personally use it. I use tasks mainly in real time. If I'm in a meeting with Mark and he's just going, hey, we got to do this, we got to remember that, I'm quickly adding tasks to a Confluence page to remind me later to come in and address them. I typically also expect my team to work in Jira. I expect my team to use Confluence for knowledge, and I'll talk more about how we integrate those, but I'm typically using tasks for myself because I'll be sitting in a meeting and I have to remember 7 different things. I don't want to have to go make a Jira ticket for everything. Instead, I'll just quickly make a task, assign it to myself, and address it after the meeting. Now, they're very easy to add. You can add them to pages either by clicking on this little checkbox or doing / in the word task. This allows you to add an action item, also called a task. You can also use a hotkey, open bracket, close bracket, space. And I tend to use the hotkey because I'm typing my notes. Mark has all these great ideas. Kythra's chiming in. I just do open, close bracket. Remember to assign these tickets, and I keep adding my notes. Finding tasks is where I fail quite frequently. I'll add them and I forget they exist. Confluence tracks them in multiple places. There is a tasks menu we can go to see all the tasks that we have been assigned, that @mention us, or that we have created. So typically I'm not assigning tasks to myself, but it's tracking here are the ones that you made, and then the page it shows up on, and if there's a due date. This is a very simple way to do it. There are also other ways, elements and macros that help us figure it out. Looks like we have a pretty even split. 44% of us use Confluence for task tracking, 44% don't, and 11% didn't know it exists. I'm missing 1% of people though. I wonder how that happened. Just maths. I'd be curious if folks are okay sharing how they use them. There's also the Discord link, which I just put in. Lots of great live chat and sharing more use cases. But if you're comfortable sharing how they're used or the frustrations you have like Mark, please jump on in and let other people know and share your knowledge. I would really appreciate that. This is another way to do it. There is a task report macro that will pull in all the tasks. You can do it by assignee. So if you're using tasks to assign things to team members, you might have a page that's all the tasks and then sections that break it down by everything assigned to Kythra, everything assigned to Rodney, everything assigned to Margot, everything assigned to Braulio. Hope I'm saying that right, my friend. So that's one way to do it. You can also do it by filtering out tasks unless they have a certain label. Braulio's asking, is a task tab created automatically? It should just exist. We'll pop back into Confluence Cloud and we'll see it, but it should always be there even if you don't have any tasks. Should. Popping back into Confluence. Oh, they changed it, didn't they? Did I just hide it? Okay. Whew. The nice people at Atlassian are constantly updating their user interface. When some of these screenshots were taken, the icons might be a bit old. What I've done in this case is I've hidden tasks. So I've got this More menu. You can customize the sidebar, and this will show or hide things. Maybe I'll show tasks just to make this easier. But here I can click on tasks, and I actually don't have any assigned to me, which is perfect so I can demonstrate this. There's nothing here. So I'm very quickly going to go in and give myself a task just to demonstrate what these look like. I've got a lessons learned here. So this might be a good example, maybe in the moment while we're talking about it. Whoa, I need to spell properly. And I did a few things in here. The team is talking. We've got a need for follow-up documentation. I added the task by using open bracket, close bracket. I typed in what I should do. I mentioned myself, and then I added a date. I just did a double /, and that automatically inserts a date, which I could change to the future. But this is now useful stuff for me as the project manager. If I update this page, if I commit the change and go back to my tasks, I now see that task listed, including its due date and the page that it's on. So I find this very useful. Again, I'm typically making these in the moment. I just need tasks. I have to remember to do something. Instead of writing it on paper, making a Jira work item, I just make the task here. And then as I create them or complete them, I can just check them off. And now it's marked as complete. I can move on to the next one. I can also see created by me. It's the same list at this point, just because I don't have any that are not created by me and assigned to me. So those are our tasks. I'll caution folks, if you choose to use them, make sure you're following up on them. I am very bad at that. I tend to have a whole bunch of tasks that I never get to because I forget they're there. So like anything, our process around the tool is just as important as the tool itself. All right, a new poll for folks. Oop, let me open this up. What did I do here? Close and poll. Next one's going to relate to automations. And curious what for. And I'll have three options, kind of a yes, a no, and then a what are those? If you do use them, would love your use cases. If you don't use them, would love to know why. Automations allow the system to take action for us. As a project manager, I find this really useful. The simplest use case I have is if I have a status meeting every Monday, I have it automatically make a page for me. And that page just is automatically created every Monday before the meeting. It's got the structure I want from the template. I don't have to go make it. It's just right there. That's a very simple example though. Our automations can do a lot of things for us, especially if we're using other connected systems like Jira. For example, we can have Jira create a new page when a sprint is completed. So I, as a human, don't have to do that. Every automation must have a trigger, and this tells Confluence when to start, and then an action, what it should do. In this case, the trigger is when a page is published, and the action is add a label. Very simple example. When Rob makes a page, put this particular label on it. It can also have conditions, a way to control the logic. When a page is created, check to see who made it. Is it Frank? If it's Frank, add a label. You can also have branching, which runs against multiple pages. Again, I use them for regular meeting notes. Every Monday at 9, I have a meeting. Great, just make the page for me. I don't want to have to click buttons. I just want it to show up. You might have it reach out and notify people and do other things as well. You might have it create work items. For example, if I make a page, when a page is made, check to see who made it. Is it Rob? If it is, Look at the labels on the page. If there's a requirement label, make a new Jira work item. So when I think of automations, what I'm thinking through is trying to figure out, what am I doing manually frequently? Can the system do that for me? And as a project manager, I'm also watching my team. What is my team doing manually? How can I help them? Can we automate it? So I'm both educating my team, automations exist, bring me your ideas, but also exploring and trying to figure them out. Mark's got an example. It would create a sprint review. I love that. It pulls in goals, adds a macro burn down, done work, and points. And this sounds like something you'd have to do manually all the time anyway. So that's a great use case and option. Frank, I'll get to your comment as soon as I'm done with automations. I see it though. Regular meeting notes was one. So I make a page. If the title contains the word sprint plan, make a sprint in Jira. So I'm thinking through things that I have to do manually that, why do I have to do them? The system should do them. I could better spend that time helping the team, unblocking someone, talking to a stakeholder. So those are all just ideas. I'll give another shout out to Discord. If you're not in there, jump on in. It's a great place to share more specifics on these, where we can dig in and help you debug them or improve them. But automations are a great tool. Biggest challenge is most people don't know how they work or what they can do. I'm going to go back to Confluence, which is this way, and address Frank's comment. So every space has a homepage. When I open up the human resources space, I come here. Now this particular one is a demo, so it's got these nice images. However, many times a space kind of just looks like this. And this one actually I spent time putting something on. As a project manager, I also double check the space homepage. I come here and I'll go edit it, and I'll add useful information for my team. What Frank is calling out are some specific elements or macros. I'll type a / and type in card. And here I have some macros that are more visually useful than just text or just a link. So when I'm working in Confluence, I'm not just thinking about, is the content good? I'm also considering, when my teammate Frank comes here, will this be interesting and engaging? Will he want to explore it? Does it have what he needs? And there's many ways to do that. I'm not going to dig too much into marketplace apps. Kyther called out one called Aura Apps that has some other great features, but there are also ways to extend Confluence and Jira and add more features and functions than I am just showing you. So please keep that in mind as well. I am just showing you the basic, out of the box, everyone gets it, Confluence Cloud stuff. All right, looks like most of us, less than half of us, use automations. I'll encourage the folks who aren't using them just to start thinking through what bugs you about having to do it manually, and then exploring automations to see what might help you. All right, our last section, we're going to talk about Jira. And another quick poll. Yes, no, I'll do another. Yes, you love it. I know you hate it. No, you don't use it, or some other. I'm asking this question because most of the companies I've worked at use Jira for project management, mainly software development, and they happen to also have Confluence. So most groups that use Confluence also tend to have Jira. And the good news is these systems are tightly integrated. There are multiple ways to share information between Confluence and Jira because they're both created by Atlassian. Out of the box, they just work well together. And it's also typically where our teams are going to be existing and working on information. And there are many ways to share information between them. I've mentioned automations can take action. Let's say I close a Jira work item, automatically make a page with some content on it. In Confluence, if I make a page called Sprint Planning, automatically start a sprint. I can display Jira work items on pages and in whiteboards. I can link them in databases. I can link Confluence content back to Jira work items. The point of these integrations is to make sure my team can quickly and easily find the information they need to do their job. Now, we can easily link them through different macros or elements on a page. We can link single work items or groups of work items, so a list, and also create them directly from Confluence. Now, The list of items we get back is dependent on a search, so we have to understand how to search and filter within Jira to find the things we want. But I use this all the time for doing, again, I pick on sprint planning, but also a dashboard for my stakeholders. Typically, my stakeholders don't want to go into Jira. So I give them a Confluence page that shows them the Jira work items. It's the same information, I'm just putting it somewhere where they can access it. Again, I'm communicating in a way that makes sense to my stakeholder. And I do that by using these Jira issues macros. I can also go the other way. On my Jira work items for my team, I can link Confluence content. I can pull in existing pages or whiteboards or databases. I can also automatically create content from the Jira work item that will be instantly linked to it. I encourage my team members to do this because it gets the documentation closer to the source of knowledge. If Frank is a programmer and he's writing great code and he comes across a bug, he can document it right from Jira. He doesn't have to go into another system and open it up and take 5 steps. It's just 2 clicks and he can just type in information. And typically the deal I have with my team, as long as you get it into Confluence, I will put it in the right spot and make it look better, or, put a formatting on it. I hope my team does those things for me, but the deal I have is you're the expert, Frank, in what we're doing. I'll handle the busy work of getting it in Confluence in the right way. But this helps reduce friction. A few clicks and you're off. You're good to go. Now, these documents also support customers. So depending on our setup, if we're using Jira Service Management to support end users, these documents can show up as they're looking for help. They're typing in keywords and Confluence serves up, oh, try this. This also feeds things like the virtual agent that can help automatically respond to tickets and other automated systems to serve up information. So by doing this, by adding information to Confluence, we're also adding it in many other places and making it easier for other teams to do their jobs and deflect or avoid the need for bugs or other issues. I won't talk too much about calendars because I don't use them that much. I'm quickly going to pop into Jira and just demonstrate the linking I can do between Confluence and Jira. So I'll just click Edit on this page. I'm going to go to some blank space at the bottom and just type in a /. What that does, maybe I'll put some blank space in the middle. There we go. I'll just type in a / and I'll type in the word Jira. What I'll get is a list of these elements or macros. And I'm going to pick this one, Jira work items. And what I'll get then is just a search. It's looking in a certain instance, a certain copy of Jira, and I want to find anything about passwords. I'm just picking that word because I think there's something in there. Awesome. And then I'll look at this list and I'll realize, oh, hang on, this one's completed, it's canceled. So maybe I get rid of that status. Maybe I just want the backlog in, parking lot. Exactly what I pick will depend on what I want to show, but here I can tailor the list, and then I can insert this directly onto the page. Now this is live data. It's reliant on my permissions, so I won't see or access things I can't in Jira, but as new work items meet this criteria, they'll just show up. It's a great way to have a list of things for my stakeholders. If I go to this work item, so work item CX.10, yes, thank you. Come on, work item. Oh, wow, they've added buttons. Rodney, I don't know if you're still with me, my friend, but they've changed some things already. And now I don't know where the link button is. Let me go to a different project. Here we go. Up at the top of these, I have a little plus, and this is where I can link it back to Confluence. I can link to a page or create a page right from here, link to a whiteboard or create one, and this allows me to service this information for my team where they work. Again, I'm trying to reduce the distance between them needing something and them getting something. And so I can have these links both in Confluence and on the Jira work items to help people find the content they need. Okay, a quick request for your help. I am constantly looking for more exciting types of content, more ideas. This link goes to a Google form that I will also share. But please let me know what you think of the session, how it could be better, what other topics you would like to see. It can be anonymous. You can choose to share who you are. Either way, that is a great way to let me know. Also, I hang out on Discord, about 300 folks in there, including folks like Rodney and Kythra, sharing knowledge and information. Also, a lot of cat pictures because it's the internet. But I would love your feedback. I also mentioned that I'm doing this professionally and full time, so please like the video. It's the simplest way to help me out. It helps other people find it. But also, if you're looking for Atlassian training, I've got this specific learning course that I'll link right here. And I've also got a whole bunch of other learning courses around Atlassian topics and ideas. If you're looking for certification for yourself or your team, check it out. I also include exam vouchers. So this is the attempt to take the exam. So please check that out. I'll drop one more poll before I go to our end slide. Again, just curious what folks thought. But your tips and next steps, please keep engaging with Confluence. As project managers, our job isn't to use Confluence, but it is part of our job. And it is a tool that can help support our team if we are, it's a tool we have to support our team if we have access to it. And it's a way we can make their life a lot easier. The more we as project management managers know about this, the better. It just gives us more access to the tools and helps the team be better, faster, stronger. So please go to this recording. It's on my YouTube channel along with all the chat. Please get hands-on. Go in and practice in Confluence. You can't break it. Just be careful about deleting or modifying content if you're not sure. But go find your space admin. Go add a page. Go link it to a Jira work item. Just so when you're asked, you know how it works. Feel free to shoot me an email, robert@heen.tech. Another way to contact me. I'll be happy to help troubleshoot, answer questions, direct you to information. And look out for me on LinkedIn at robert-heen. I can't say daily, but very regular posts about Atlassian tips and tricks that might help you out. I do want to thank you all for joining me. I really enjoyed this session because it overlaps Confluence and project management in my career. So thank you all for joining. Be on the lookout for more live sessions, both for myself and other creators. The perspective is very helpful. So thank you for hearing some of mine. I hope to hear from you all in some other session or in Discord or on email or on LinkedIn or at a conference or somewhere in person. And thank you again for learning with me. I really appreciate the chance to share what I know and to hear from all of you. And with that, we are done. I will leave the chat open for a little bit. But thanks again and have a great Thursday wherever you are. Tushar wants to know what the whiteboard looks like. Uh-oh. Chiraj, I hope I'm saying that right. You're welcome, my friend. Thank you for coming. Cyburn21, thank you for coming. Rohit, channel member, got to shout you out. Thank you for being here, my friend. I appreciate that. Thank you to Kythra for becoming a channel member today. I really appreciate that, my friend. The whiteboard isn't too crazy right now. Sometimes these get very big and very complicated. All right. Please remember to like and subscribe if you haven't. And I'll see you all whenever I see you next. Thanks again and have a great day.